Alright, so here's the other tornado. Here's again the Rising Sun, Indiana, Taylor Sport, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Schuyler Park, Ohio. Tornado. Then there's the Louisville, Buckner, not Kentucky F4. And then there's the Audubon, Monkello, was Cockville, Indiana F4. And then there's the Tanner, Alabama, first F5. Then the Jasper Coleman, Fairview, Alabama, F4. Tanner, Alabama, second tornado. And then there's the Gun Twin, Delmar, Alabama, F5. And then the Redstone, Hunt, Alabama, F3. And
This small and violent tornado was part of a series of tornadoes that earlier struck portions of southern Indiana from north of Brandenburg, Kentucky, into southwest Ohio. This tornado was witnessed on television by thousands of people, as WCPO aired the tornado live during special news coverage of the tornadoes. 7:3:76. It began shortly before 4:30 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time or 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time in southeastern Indiana in Ohio County north of Rising Sun near the Ohio River. It then traveled through Boone County, Kentucky, producing F4 damage in the Taylorsport area before crossing the Ohio River a second time into Ohio. Here, the tornado reached F5 intensity as it slammed into Sailor Park, 77, at a further inland area of Sailor Park. The tornado maintained F5 intensity as numerous homes were swept away at a hilly area near a lake, with only bare slabs remaining. NWS surveyors noted that a pickup truck in this area was carried a half block over the roofs of 5 homes before being smashed to the ground. 7-8. The tornado took 3 lives and injured 210, with 190 of the injuries were in Hamilton County, Ohio alone. 7-9. It was considered the most photographed tornado of the outbreak. 7-6-10. This tornado dissipated west of White Oak, but the same thunderstorm activity was responsible for 2 other tornado touchdowns in the Lebanon and Mason areas. The Mason tornado, which started in the northern Cincinnati subdivisions of Arlington Heights and Elmwood Place, was rated F4 and took 2 lives, while the Warren County tornado was rated an F2 and injured 10. 10-7-3.
Don't take your butt off.
Louisville, Buckner, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky. Major damage in the Northfield neighborhood of Louisville, including a vehicle partially wrapped.
Give it back. Say anything.
About an hour after the Brandenburg tornado, the same supercell spawned an F4 tornado that formed in the southwest part of Jefferson County near Cosmosdale. Another funnel cloud formed over Standiford Field Airport, touched down at the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center, and destroyed the majority of the horse barns at the center and part of Freedom Hall, a multi-purpose arena, before it crossed I-65, scattering several vehicles on that busy expressway. The tornado continued its 22-mile, 35 kilometers, journey northeast where it demolished most of Audubon Elementary School and affected the neighborhoods of Audubon, Cherokee Triangle, Cherokee Seneca, Crescent Hill, Indian Hills, Northfield, Rolling Fields, and Tyler Park. Numerous homes were destroyed in residential areas, including a few that were leveled. The tornado ended near the junction of Interstates 264 and 71 after killing 3 people, injuring 207 people, destroying over 900 homes, and damaging thousands of others. Cherokee Park, a historic 409-acre, 1.66 kilometers 2 municipal park located at Eastern Parkway and Cherokee Road, had thousands of mature trees destroyed. A massive replanting effort was undertaken by the community in the aftermath of the tornado. 10. Gilbert, a helicopter traffic reporter for radio station WHAS-AM, followed the tornado through portions of its track, including when it heavily damaged the Louisville Water Company's Crescent Hill pumping station, and gave vivid descriptions of the damage as seen from the air. 80. A WHAS-TV cameraman also filmed the tornado when it passed just east of the central business district of Louisville. 80. WHAS-AM broke away from its regular programming shortly before the tornado struck Louisville and was on air live with John Burke, the chief meteorologist at the National Weather Service's Louisville office at Standiford Field when the tornado first descended. The station remained on the air delivering weather bulletins and storm-related information until well into the early morning hours of April 4th. 81. As electrical power had been knocked out to a substantial portion of the city, the radio station became a clearinghouse for vital information and contact with emergency workers, not only in Louisville but across the state of Kentucky due to its 50,000-watt clear channel signal and the fact that storms had knocked numerous broadcasting stations in smaller communities, such as Frankfort, off the air. Then Governor Wendell Ford commended the station's personnel for their service to the community in the time of crisis, and Dick Gilbert later received a special commendation from then-President Richard Nixon for his tracking of the tornado from his helicopter. 8-2.
And then ain't no sense you going over there to fight them because you're not the one that's got the issue.
This half-mile, 0.8 kilometers, wide F4 tornado developed as part of a tornado family that moved from Illinois to Michigan for 260 miles during the late afternoon hours. This tornado produced the longest damage path recorded during the outbreak, on a southwest to northeast path that nearly crossed the entire state of Indiana. According to most records, including the presented map of North Indiana, this tornado formed just southwest of Otterbein in northeast Warren County in west-central Indiana, and ended in LaGrange County just northwest of Valentine, a total distance of about 121 miles, 195 kilometers. Further analysis by Ted Fujita indicated that at the start of the tornado path near Otterbein, downburst winds, also called twisting downburst, disrupted the tornado's inflow, which caused it to briefly dissipate before redeveloping near Brookston in White County at around 4:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time and then traveled for 109 miles, 175 kilometers. 8-3, it also struck portions of 6 other counties, with the hardest hit being White County and its town of Monticello. Much of the town was destroyed, including the courthouse, some churches and cemeteries, 40 businesses and numerous homes, as well as 3 schools. It also heavily damaged the Penn Central Bridge over the Tippecanoe River. Overall damage, according to the NOAA, was estimated at $250 million United States dollars, with $100 million United States dollars damage in Monticello alone. 10-84. After the tornado struck Monticello, the tornado reached peak strength and completely leveled several farms northwest of town. The tornado then went on to tear through the west side of Rochester, where businesses were destroyed and homes were completely leveled and swept away. Riddle Elementary School was badly damaged as well. The tornado then struck Talma, destroying most of the town, including a fastening plant and the schoolhouse. The tornado continued northeast and struck the south sides of Atwood and Leesburg, with additional severe damage occurring at both locations. The tornado then crossed DeWart Lake and Lake Wawasee, destroying multiple lakeside homes and trailers. The Wawasee Airport was hard hit, where hangars were destroyed and planes were thrown and demolished. The tornado destroyed several buildings as it passed between Ligonier and Topeka, including Perry School and a Monsanto plant. Train cars near the plant were blown off the tracks and thrown into the building. The tornado then finally dissipated near Oliver Lake Airfield. 84. A total of 18 people were killed during the storm, including 5 people from Fort Wayne when their minibus fell 50 feet, 15 meters, into the Tippecanoe River near Monticello. 1 passenger did survive the fall. 8-5. 5 others were killed in White County, 6 in Fulton County and 1 in Kosciuszko County. 86. The National Guard had assisted the residents in the relief and cleanup efforts, and then Governor Otis Bowen visited the area days after the storm. One of the few consolations from the tornado was that a century-old bronze bell that belonged to the White County Courthouse and served as timekeeper was found intact despite being thrown a great distance. 8-7. The tornado itself had contradicted a long-time myth that a tornado would not follow terrain into steep valleys, as while hitting Monticello, it descended a 60-foot, 18 meters, hill near the Tippecanoe River and heavily damaged several homes immediately afterwards. 2-0. The cluster of thunderstorms was crossing much of the Ohio Valley and northern Indiana. Additional strong storms developed much further south just east of the Mississippi River into the Tennessee Valley and Mississippi. It produced the first deadly tornadoes in Alabama during the early evening hours. Most of the small town of Tanner, located to the west of Huntsville and south of the Limestone County seat of Athens, was destroyed when two F5 tornadoes struck the community 30 minutes apart. First tornado formed at 6:20 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time in Lawrence County, Alabama and ended 61 minutes later in Madison County, Alabama, killing 28 people. The tornado first touched down near the small community of Mount Hope, 8-8, and then tracked into Mount Moriah, where the tornado rapidly intensified and swept away homes and hurled fleeing vehicles, and where a family of 6 were killed. Further along the track, many homes were swept away near Moulton. 8-9. In one case, the destruction was so complete that a witness reported that the largest recognizable objects among scattered debris from an obliterated house were some bed springs. 90. The tornado crossed into Morgan County, causing additional destruction in rural areas near Hillsborough and Trinity. 91. The tornado then continued into Madison County and struck the Capshaw and Harvest areas. 10. Numerous homes in Harvest and surrounding rural areas of the county were swept completely away and scattered, and extensive windrowing of debris was noted. A bathtub from one residence was found deeply embedded into the ground. Past Harvest, the tornado abruptly dissipated northeast of town, having a peak width of 500 yards. 9-2, 9-3. While tornadoes were causing devastation in the northwesternmost corner of the state, another supercell crossing the Mississippi-Alabama state line produced another violent tornado that touched down in Pickens County before heading northeast for just over 2 hours towards the Jasper area, causing major damage to its downtown as the F4 storm struck. Damage was reported in Coleman from the storm before it lifted. 94. Jasper tornado first touched near Aliceville, producing scattered damage as it tracked northeastward. The damage became more intense and continuous as the tornado entered Tuscaloosa County. The tornado continued to strengthen south of Berry, and 2 people were killed near the Walker County line when a church was destroyed. The tornado tore directly through downtown Jasper at 6:57 p.m., resulting in severe damage and at least 100 injuries. Numerous buildings and storefronts were heavily damaged in downtown Jasper, and many streets were blocked with trees and power lines. 95. The Walker County Courthouse sustained major damage, and a new fire station was completely leveled. The firemen on duty at the time took shelter in a nearby large culvert and survived without injury. The Walker County Library and the Jasper First Methodist Church were also damaged. 95. The tornado crossed Lewis Smith Lake and moved across the south side of Coleman at 7:40 p.m. Multiple homes and shopping centers were damaged or destroyed in the area, resulting in 1 death and 36 injuries. The tornado finally dissipated northeast of Coleman a short time later. 96. Total, the storm took 3 lives, but injured 150 residents of Jasper or Coleman. 500 buildings were destroyed, with nearly 400 other buildings severely damaged. At the same time, a third supercell was crossing the state line near the track of the previous two. 96.
So there's 3 more tornadoes left. Here is the Tanner, Alabama second tornado.
While rescue efforts were underway to look for people under the destroyed structures, few were aware that another violent tornado would strike the area. The path of the second tornado, which formed at 7:30 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time, was at least 50 miles in length and had a peak width of 500 yards. The storm formed along the north bank of the Tennessee River less than a mile from the path of the earlier storm, with much of its path very closely paralleling its predecessor as it tore through Limestone and Madison counties. 16 people were killed by this second tornado. Tanner was the first community to be hit, and many structures that were left standing after the first tornado were destroyed in the second one. A man injured at Lawson's trailer park in the first tornado was taken to an area church, which collapsed in the second tornado, killing him. 10. After devastating what was left of Tanner, the tornado continued across rural Limestone County and into Madison County, where the communities of Capshaw and Harvest were devastated once again. 98-97, numerous homes throughout Madison County were swept completely away, with extensive windrowing of debris noted once again. Past Harvest, the tornado swept away multiple additional homes in the Hazel Green area. 9-3. The tornado continued northeastward through rural portions of Madison County before crossing into Tennessee, where major damage and 6 deaths occurred in Franklin and Lincoln counties before the tornado dissipated in Coffee County. 2 of the fatalities in Tennessee occurred when a church was destroyed during service. 98. The death toll from the 2 tornadoes was over 45 and over 400 were injured. Most of the fatalities occurred in and around the Tanner area. Over 1,000 houses, 200 mobile homes and numerous other outbuildings, automobiles, power lines and trees were completely demolished or heavily damaged. The most recent official National Weather Service records show that both 99-100 of the Tanner tornadoes were rated F5. 86-101. However, the rating of the second Tanner tornado is still disputed by some scientists. Analysis in one publication estimates F3-F4 damage along the entirety of the second storm's path. 10. This fast-moving nighttime tornado, which devastated the town of Gwinn in Alabama, was the longest-lasting F5 tornado recorded in the outbreak, and considered to be one of the most violent ever recorded. The tornado traveled over 79.5 miles, 127.9 kilometers, from the town of Vernon, Alabama, to just south of the small town of Basham, before lifting just after 10:55 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time. 10. It formed at around 8:50 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time near the Mississippi-Alabama border, north of the town of Vernon, striking the Monterey Trailer Park, resulting in major damage at that location. 95. The tornado then became violent as it approached and entered Gwinn, with multiple areas of F5 damage noted in and around town. 10. The tornado first struck the Gwinn mobile home plant as it entered the town, completely obliterating the structure. The town's downtown area was also heavily damaged, with many brick businesses and 2 churches completely destroyed. 95 trees in town were debarked, ground scouring occurred, and vehicles were thrown and mangled as well. Residential areas in Gwinn suffered total devastation, with many homes swept completely away and scattered across fields. 102. According to NWS damage surveyor Bill Herman, the damage in 1/6 block area was particularly extreme, and remarked that, "It was just like the ground had been swept clean. It was just as much of a total wipeout as you can have." 103. Surveyor J.B. Elliott noted that the destruction was so complete, that even some of the foundations were dislodged, and in some cases swept away. A total of 23 people were killed in Gwyn. 95, 104. Tornado continued past Gwyn and struck the small community of Twin, destroying numerous homes, mobile homes, and businesses at that location, though the damage was less intense than that observed in Gwyn. Crossing into Winston County, the tornado struck the small community of Delmar, destroying additional homes and killing 5 people. Mobile homes in Delmar were obliterated, with their frames wrapped around trees. 95, past Delmar, the tornado grew up to a mile wide as it tore through the William B. Bankhead National Forest, flattening a huge swath of trees. Surveyors noted that timber damage was equally severe at all elevations in this area, with numerous trees snapped both along exposed ridges and in deep gorges. So many trees were snapped in this area that the tornado path was visible from satellite. The tornado finally dissipated south of Basham after destroying 546 structures. 95.